What is up, people? This is Dave, I'm back again. And yes, it's still July 15th, 2018. Excuse me. What I wanted to kind of briefly discuss before I get into these little points of what the SMART system is and compare and contrast AA versus, well, I'm not really going to compare and contrast, but I'll give you what I'm thinking about this. But before I get into that, I was just thinking while I was sitting here, waiting for my batteries to charge. Trump, he just went, President Donald Trump just went to the UK to meet with the Prime Minister, as well as meeting, with the Queen. And today, I believe that was yesterday or the day before. Yesterday was kind of wonky for me, so it could have either been the 13th or the 14th. I believe it was yesterday, the 14th. He went to the UK, and today he is going to Russia. He is discussing NATO. I'm not sure exactly why he's going to Russia yet. I mean, like I said, yesterday was super wonky for me. But he was discussing NATO and our involvement in this treaty with the Prime Minister and of the people of Europe and the world, and he was kind of discussing the fact that Germany is paying Russia for this pipeline and everything else, talking about how that's no bueno, that's not good. Anyways, that's not my point. I'm not here to talk about those points. Well, I'm not here really to talk about anything, but I don't want to talk about those points because I haven't done my research and I'll just sound like a royal jackass. I kind of want to just give my opinion on the protests that are going on with the anti-fascists, because they're doing it as well in Russia. They did it in London, and they are claiming what they are, except they're not in the all-black uniform like they are in America, anti-fascists. Now, what worries me about this whole movement of anarchy and anti-fascism, extremism type of deal is mainly that for a long time people have predicted a one world order, right? Where we are all ruled by one government. And the way they are all moving, they're making it seem like this issue is in every country, really, except for, of course, the Middle East, which they have their own extremism dealio going on over there, which we've all been hearing about for 20 plus years. Of course, it's changed from, Al-Qaeda to ISIS and all that good stuff, but what I worry about with all this extremism and all this wanting to be communism, socialism, and all this other stuff is that by doing this, we're going to start increasing a different type of policing that we've never really seen before, and stuff like in V for Vendetta, where we have a curfew if you're out at a certain time or you're dressed a certain way. Now you're going to be able to be stopped, questioned, and perhaps detained for a time because you are being an extremist or whatever. And then other countries are going to start divulging into this, and what we're going to do is bring the world into this faction of having one government and one ruling class. I mean, I may be way off, this may be just like crazy theory out in left field, but I think we all just need to slow down unless you want to be policed a little bit more. I mean, when Trump was elected, these guys were burning down DC. They're freaking setting fires and riots all up on the streets. I mean, you may not agree with all of his policies or the type of person he is, but imagine how many presidents that were elected that other people didn't agree with and they weren't doing this. The thing is that you need to be doing peaceful protests if you don't like somebody, but everyone's not doing peaceful protests. Everyone's freaking raising hell. And the only way this is going to end is not in favor for anybody. You're not going to raise hell and then not have any, what would you call it, retaliation or retribution on the other side. I mean, it's just going to make things worse. Talking about police being militarized. Remember, I haven't gone to sleep yet. I'm still militarized. Police being militarized. Talking about that now, imagine what's going to happen if you guys keep acting this way, and that goes for London and Russia. Hell, I'm surprised Russia looked a little bit different. There's like a peace sign, so I'm not sure if it's really anti-fascist so much in Russia besides saying we want peace, America, we don't want any issues, we want peace. I think that's more what those protests there are about, because I mean, there wasn't like, they weren't burning American flags. It was peace signs and different stuff. So I'm not quite sure what the protests are. I mean, I just thought about an hour ago being streamed live. I'm sure we'll hear more about it on both sides, the left and the right. And then we just got to distinguish what our truth is. Because, I mean, if you're a left, if you're a liberal, you'll be seeing the liberal mainstream media and you'll be like, hey, yo, yeah, this is what it is and this is the way I'm leaning. And you'll see that side. And if you're right, you'll be looking at the conservative type of media and mainstream media, and you'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's the way it is. Me, I'm more of a, I look at the left, I look at the right, and I come to my own conclusions. There's been a meme recently on Facebook where it's like Prince Charles or Harry, no, it's Charles, I believe. He has 3 fingers up, and at one angle, it looks like he's pretty much throwing the middle finger up, but the other angle, you see the 3 fingers, and it's really like you need all of the sides to the story. I mean, yeah, there are issues. Like, personally, me, I never wanted Trump in office. I thought it was dumb. But look who he was competing with, Hillary. Would I want her in office? I think that would be far worse than what we see now. And as we're seeing, it would be far worse because since he's in charge, all these people are coming out the woodworks and burning shit down and just being complete nuts. I mean, you have Maxine Waters over here talking about how we're going to riot, do all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, make sure these people feel uncomfortable and all this other stuff. That's never happened. It didn't really happen with Obama. I mean, there's a whole bunch of memes and people talking smack about Obama, just like there is with Trump. I mean, that's bound to happen no matter what person you have in power because it's not always going to please everybody. You know, he did get the majority vote, but it's not going to please everybody, just like Obama. They were saying a lot of things about Obama. Do I believe under his term that our race relations have definitely been divided? Yes. Most recently, I just saw on Fox's little Facebook posting, they're saying a white store manager at CVS called the police on a black woman because he didn't recognize the coupon. Now, do I think that he called because she was a black woman providing a coupon that he didn't recognize? No, I think she probably got in his face. I've seen a lot of, not to be racist, but I don't give a fuck if you think I am or not. I've seen a lot of these black women, they speak very strongly and they're very proud. And if you tell them no, they get in your face and they speak louder and they're like, no, look, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. I mean, I've seen a lot of white people do it. It's usually like kind of the trashy people, the ones that don't have any self-respect. I mean, this the ones that really haven't gotten an education and don't value their self-worth that do it. I've seen Spanish people do it. I've seen all races do it, really, except I really haven't seen Asians do it. I've never seen an Asian do it, but they probably have too. I just probably haven't seen it. Or Muslims. I haven't really seen Muslims do it either. But which I guess, you know, they are kind of India's and that Asia thing, so whatever. But I'm pretty sure she wasn't the nicest woman to him, and I'm sure if it was a white redneck yelling at him about the same damn thing, guess what he'd be doing? He'd be on the phone calling the police. Like people pointed out, if it was a bad coupon, he would be the one responsible for what was in the till, and he would be in trouble that way. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, especially if you're white and you say no to somebody that's black in this country. Not all the times, but I've noticed what the news is portraying, it seems like you're kind of screwed. Now, don't get me wrong, that one lady like going ham on those people having that barbecue, that's not cool. She seemed like a freaking nut job. That one lady going ham on that little girl selling lemonade, that ain't cool either. I mean, but that's also why I don't allow my son to sell lemonade. That's not the first time I've heard of that. I've heard of police actually coming and shutting it down, even for white children. I mean, it's just, it happens. Now, recently I saw in the news a little white child being able to throw it for police, and the police came. I mean, but then you just have some pricks, we'll say dicks, that want to just stir the pot for no reason. I mean, we have so many laws that it is ridiculous. We're not really a free country. You can't do much. I mean, my neighbors behind me, they make up stories all the time and the police show up here. But they play their music where I could hear it with my door shut. They yell, they scream, and I leave them alone. We really don't throw parties. We don't have loud music. Usually when my wife starts yelling at me, that's when the police show up. When she's screaming at me about something, hell, when she's screaming at her son, they're making up stories that freaking work. Me and her are arguing, and I'm not even here. I was at work. I mean, there's just so many laws, and people abuse their rights. They cry wolf, and they try to take advantage of the system and make it work in their favor. I'm not sure. I think they thought we rented this place, although we own the place. We've been here for 9 years. So I'm assuming they're trying to make it super uncomfortable for us, so we hurry up and get rid of our lease and move the hell out. Well, I'm sorry. We're here until we can sell it, and I'm not selling for anything less than $120,000. So until I can sell my property for $120,000, we're going to be here. And that's just the way it's going to be. So, my point is that we have to really slow down as a people, which it's not going to happen. You know what's going to happen? We're going to get to that point where, people are just fed up, and I'm not saying they're going to take the law into their own hands, but the laws are going to change. I mean, everyone's screaming about the police shooting black people and harassing black people. I mean, story time. My dad was shot by the police back in 2008. He's doing 17 years upstate. When I was a kid, I had an attitude with the police because I never had great experiences with them. I mean, when we were kids, they harassed us all the time. So, of course, when they stopped me and started talking to me, I had a shitty attitude with them. So, you know what happened? I got stomped to the curb. I got pepper sprayed. Without raising my fist and not really resisting. I mean, I couldn't get my feet in the car one time. It was for a DUI that I wasn't even a part of. My girlfriend, she was driving the car, and she copped a DUI. I had nothing on me. I mean, well, I guess I was under 21 and I was drinking alcohol. That's what I had on me. I put on the cuffs, and my feet wouldn't fit in the car because they had the seat too close. And since my feet wouldn't get in the car quick enough, and they're trying to shut the door on my feet, they opened the door and sprayed me with pepper spray. I mean, when I got stomped to the curb, what happened is I was drunk and I had nowhere to go. I was sleeping, and I woke up to a cop's boot hitting me in the head. I mean, I'm white as clear as day, okay? And one time in custody, they all came rushing at me because I was being combative. They all grabbed me, put my hands behind my back, grabbed my legs, and my head hit the pavement, broke my nose. And I know I'm not the only white person that has experienced this stuff. I mean, I was talking about suing them, and they're like, oh, go ahead, do what you want, it's our word against yours. And at that point in time in life, yeah, it was. Maybe now I could have gotten something from it because everybody seems to be woke. Thanks, Snow Product. I mean, everyone says woke now, but she's the one who trademarked woke. Look up Snow Product. I mean, we're all woke now. We see what's going on, but some people are still unawoke. They're not awake because they think it's just happening to black people. It's happening to everybody. This whole racial divide bullshit that we see, it's nothing more than a ploy. I mean, I don't have any hate for black people, Hispanic people, and I know most of them don't have too much hate for me. I mean, I'm sure there's some of them, but put me in a room with 5 black people and I guarantee you only one really hates me. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's this dude who I know who attends Boy Scouts with us. I think he's a little racist, but he's also a black dude who grew up in Tennessee, in a not so diverse area of Tennessee, which means that they ran around in the white hoods and all that other shit, and they're racist as fuck to him. So, I can kind of see why he is racist, but I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and it's always been diverse where I grew up. We've always had Spanish, black, and white, and Asian. And I moved to San Diego, which is, of course, is heavily Hispanic. Has a lot of black people, white people, and Asians as well. And I moved to Tampa, which is Hispanic, black, white. I've always been someplace where it's been super diverse. Now, I know personally, me, if I walk down the wrong neighborhood, I would be attacked because I'm white and I don't belong there. And this happened before where I was chased out. This happened before, too, me being white, a black person, mumbles some fucking racist ass shit to me. And yes, it is racist. I don't give a fuck if they're black or not. I've never tried to touch a black person's hair before. I mean, as I'm getting older, you know, my mom, it is funny because my mom was super racist, and I always used to get pissed off when she was talking shit about Mexicans. She's always talking shit about Mexicans, and she was in Denver. And I'm just like, man, I can't stand the way you talk about these people. I mean, stop being ignorant, you know? And she explained to me, she's like, Dave, I grew up like 5-10 miles outside of Chicago, all right? So I was this little white girl with all these little black kids and these little Mexican kids, and they all treated me like shit because I was like the only white girl. And as I'm growing older and I'm seeing this shit, man, people do it all the time, man, talk shit about me because I'm white, or other people because they're white, but rarely do I see somebody else. I can't say that. Facebook's a motherfucker. People always sit there and say, yeah, look at those black trash motherfuckers. I mean, I guess it goes both ways, man, but it really shouldn't. I mean, it really shouldn't. We should all learn how to love and be okay with everyone's diversity. I mean, there shouldn't be any hate in the world. There's already too much hate going on with these fucking corporations. The corporations are what we should all go up against, and that's including Donald Trump's corporations. I think that's bullshit. They make all this money and they pay us barely a livable wage. And then they have all these rules and laws and regulations this day and age where you can't do crap about it. Back in his days, 70s, 80s, they didn't have shit. I mean, dude, you could pretty much get away with murder back then, and there was nothing that was going to stop you. You're able to do a lot more back then. Nowadays, there's not much you can do to start anything. I mean, it's really tough. It's really tough, and especially if you don't have any support, or if you just kind of have a sloppy idea. Okay, per se, I wanted to own a restaurant. My house is worth $130,000. I went in to go get that loan to open a restaurant. I guarantee you they'd tell me no. Back in the 80s, you know what? They would tell me yes. So, I mean, things have definitely changed. And it is a lot harder this day and age. So what I think everybody should stop doing is stop hating each other and stop supporting these corporations. We should start creating our own businesses and supporting ourselves. That's what I think. But anyways, on to the point. I guess not really the point. The whole point is this. This is the whole point. But before the time runs out, I wanted to talk about the 4 points to that SMART recovery program that I talked about. Doing recovery without God, because like I said, I've been having a hard time with the AA and trying to distinguish my higher power, my God. I don't believe that there is a deity that I could pray to. So anyways, number 1 is building and maintaining motivation. And I'll explain more of this in future videos. Right now we're just going to go over the 4 points. Building and maintaining motivation. Number 2, coping with urges. Number 3 is managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Number 4, living a balanced life. So a lot of this reminds me of self-help books, a lot of self-help books, a lot of different books that you write in your inventory and stuff. I mean, I haven't read too many. I recently bought some, mainly, I'll get into that later because we don't have much time. I kind of want to explain what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working this SMART program as well as the AA. I don't want to write off AA quite yet. I still want to meditate and think about perhaps something I could use and claim as a higher power, mainly because AA has been around since 1939, and definitely that's when the first book was published, and it's helped hundreds of thousands of people, if not closer to the millions of people, recover from addiction. This has been around since 1994. It says it helps, I mean, and generally speaking, they say it's science-based, but I mean, you know what also was science-based? Fucking lobotomies, you know, shock therapy, frying your brain with electroshock therapy is also science-based. So I mean, there's a lot of things that are science-based that just may or may not work, and we think they may. So I know AA has helped a lot of folks. I know it works. This has been around for 20 years, and potentially it does. Potentially I'll be drinking again in a week after doing this. So So I'm going to be working both the programs, and I'm going to be seeing what this is about. But my time's almost up. See you guys soon.